Yes, indeed, another Taco Trump Tuesday, and it makes you wonder in this breaking story why Donald Trump has never bothered to utilize or at least respect some of the common cliches and principles in life. Chances are it's because his elitist jerk butt has never really had to. Well, when you look at a guy who doesn't really face many consequences, in this breaking story, Donald Trump may be facing one of the most unexpected consequences of his entire life. You know the old cliche, don't bite the hand that feeds you, and yet, funny enough, when you get pardoned or your sentence is commuted, biting the hand is kind of like getting charged twice in double jeopardy. You can't do it. Well, wait till you see this breaking story because it's going to remind you of that parable of the scorpion and the frog. Why did you sting me when we're halfway across the lake? It's in my nature. Who am I speaking of in this breaking story? The leader of the Oath Keepers, Stewart Rhodes. This guy.
And the release of Texan Stewart Rhodes from prison. Rhodes is founder of the Oath Keepers. He was sentenced to 18 years after his conviction that he was in on the plan that led to the January 6th attack on the Capitol in 2021.
And then watching Trump, prior to all of that, bumble through the reason for actually pardoning 1,500 people.
And I thought their sentences were ridiculous and excessive. And at least the cases that we looked at, these were people that actually love our country. So we thought a pardon would be appropriate, yeah.
You would agree that it's never acceptable to assault a police officer,
Sure.
right? So then if I can, among those you pardoned, DJ Rodriguez, he drove a stun gun into the neck of a DC police officer who was abducted by the mob that day. He later confessed on video to the FBI and pleaded guilty for his crimes. Why does he deserve a pardon?
Well, I don't know. Was it a pardon? Because we're looking at commutes and we're looking at pardons. Okay, well, we'll take a look at everything. But I can say this. Murderers today are not even charged.
More than 400 of the people that you pardoned, though, assaulted officers. So I want to ask you about the Vice President, J.D. Vance. He said, this is a week ago, he said, if you committed violence on January 6th, obviously you should not be pardoned. Why is your Vice President wrong?
Well, only for one reason.
And of course, when Trump begins to realize during the press conference that they've never reviewed all 1,500 cases, they just pardoned 1,500 people and commuted sentences, he gets cranky like this.
They've served years in jail. And they've served years in jail. And we had 1,500. We have 16 under review. As you know, we commuted about 16 of them because it looks like they could have done things that were not acceptable for a full pardon. But these people have served years of jail. Their lives have been ruined. And in many cases, listen to me for a second. Stop interrupting.
Well, if you think Donald's cranky over that, wait until you see this breaking story, because we know MAGA's not happy about Trump kind of squashing and obstructing the entire Epstein investigation and utilizing his cabinet members and certainly Pam Bondi as his attorney general to do so. But if you don't want to mess with certain people in this country, the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers might be two of them. And guess what? Mr. Rhodes is having none of it. Check this story out.
Freed Oath Keepers founder warns Trump over Epstein cover-up. Even one of the most notorious recipients of clemency from Trump is unhappy. While the MAGA-verse convulsed over President Trump's dismissive response to the Epstein scandal, the founder of the far-right Oath Keepers militia is warning that his base's discontent is not about to just go away. I believe 90% of his own base understands that Epstein was up to something, and we know that's the tip of the iceberg. Stewart Rhodes told a gathering at the Comfort Inn in Granville, Texas, late last week, the Daily Beast has learned. It's really disheartening to see President Trump just declare that to be a hoax. I don't think it is, and I think it's going to cause him trouble in his own base. It already is. Were it not for clemency granted by Trump, the Yale-educated Rhodes would still be serving an 18-year term for sedition in connection with the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. I spent a total of 3 years in prison, he said. I was finally set free by President Trump. But that meant Rhodes was now at liberty to stand in a hotel meeting room with a cowboy hat pulled low over the eye patch that makes him instantly recognizable and commit what has until recent days constituted sacrilege. He questioned Trump's judgment, saying the president was being misled by bad guys doing the bidding of the supposed deep state. Their job now is to distract him, run the clock out until he's gone without him actually going after the root of the deep state, the heart and soul of it, Rhodes said. And I do believe the heart and soul of the deep state is all the dirty laundry that's held in all those files in the FBI, CIA, NSA against all these political elites. He went on, someone in his circle has convinced him that, oh, this is like Hunter Biden's laptop story. He continued, it's not. This is the deep state's dirty laundry and the deep state's greatest Achilles heel. Rhodes said he still believes that Trump owed his survival at the Butler, Pennsylvania rally last year to divine intervention. I just sincerely hope that he keeps in mind that God saved him for a purpose, Rhodes said. That purpose is to defeat the deep state. It's not to make great trade deals. It's not to have a great economy. It's not any of that stuff. The real heart and soul of it is to defeat the deep state. Because if he doesn't do that, it's going to be exponentially worse for all of us. Rhodes nonetheless spoke admiringly about the president, saying that even his fellow prison inmates had been impressed by footage of the bleeding Trump rising with an upraised fist after his ear was nicked by a would-be assassin's bullet. They were all like, man, Trump's a legit OG, Rhodes recalled. That's like the ultimate compliment in prison, right? You're your original gangster. Rhodes's experience behind bars also added to his continued doubt that Epstein had committed suicide in prison. Rhodes said that he had served as an inmate suicide watch companion. So it doesn't smell right that Jeffrey Epstein was on suicide watch and yet somehow was left alone, and somehow the cameras at that same moment also were turned off, Rhodes said. I just don't buy it. Rhodes also said that FBI Director Kash Patel and Deputy Director Don Bongino had fallen down on the job by not firing every agent who worked on the January 6th case. Rhodes told the gathering that the agents are now just waiting for Trump to leave office. When that happens, their real bosses will come back into power, Rhodes said, the deep state bosses that they've always been. He continued, when the real bosses return, they'll go right back to business as usual, which will mean coming after all of you. Trump has been seen as a superhero taking on the deep state, but with his recent dismissal of the same Epstein conspiracy theories he once touted, Rhodes, and no doubt others of the base, suddenly seem to feel his powers are as limited as his remaining time in office. The would-be regent suddenly seemed a lame duck. I believe we have a limited opportunity now, a limited window to defeat the deep state, he said. If we don't do it now and do it all the way, when they come back into power, and the man freed by Trump joined seemingly all of MAGA in calling on his president to release everything the government knows.
Now, do I believe when it's all said and done that somehow, Diversion Donald won't find a way to somehow appease Mr. Rhodes and the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys and MAGA? No, I do, because they'll literally fall for anything. But on the off chance that Rhodes actually decides to be as much of the redneck nationalist, white nationalist Christian jerk that he really is, if he actually decides to turn that on Donald Trump, I got really bad news for you, Mr. 47th President. If you're going to put a short list down of people you don't want to have banging on your front door in this country, the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys would probably be two that make the top 7. You might want to keep that in mind. Between now and then, you guys stay frosty.